This is Utah, the do-it-yourself capital of the world. And I do take care of bookkeeping clients nationwide. I have literally had clients from Virginia to Hawaii. So I have no problems working in other parts of the country, but I am headquartered here in Utah, in fact in Utah County. Probably the most do-it-yourself, self-sufficient oriented place on earth. Which is great. That's fantastic that people are very self-sufficient. It's something that I strive for myself. But at the same time, there are times when it's not appropriate to try to take care of all of your personal tasks or your business tasks, especially your business tasks, yourself. There are things you can do that nobody else can do. And the things that someone else can do, you should let go of. So we're going to talk a little bit about why to outsource your books, when to outsource your books, and why to do it. The first question is when, and the answer is as soon as you register your business in the state of Utah. As soon as you register your business and open a checking account, that's when you need to hire a bookkeeper. Don't put that off. It's easy not to want to do that because, the revenues maybe aren't coming in. You're not sure where the money's going to come from. And if you need to put it off just a little bit, that's understandable. But there are bookkeeping services here that charge very little. You don't have to go all out for an expensive CPA firm that calls itself a bookkeeping company. Looking at a couple up in Salt Lake that they call themselves outsourced CFO companies, and some of them say they're bookkeeping and they'll take care of everything for you for only $300 an hour. And nobody, a new business starting out just can't afford it. I provide bookkeeping services at a very low rate, low enough that I have gotten phone calls that people are just shocked that I can charge so little. The reason I can charge so little is that I know how to do this quickly and efficiently. And so I don't need to charge a whole lot, and I'm not looking to make a fortune off of any one client. I want to kind of be the Walmart of bookkeeping so that I can take care of a lot of clients and keep them all happy and not charge any of them a lot of money. It's really easy to do. So that's when. As soon as you start your business, you need to get a bookkeeper. You don't need a CPA at that point. Now, you will need a CPA, and that person should be separate from your bookkeeper. They should be separate companies. And that's because you need different perspectives. Just like you wouldn't hire a general contractor to write blueprints for your house, you'd go to an architect for that. It's the same thing. I'm the person that hammers the nails. I am the general contractor. I will take care of your books. But you are going to need a CPA before you grow too much to be able to look at the overall picture of your business and make sure that you are meeting your goals and that you are maximizing your tax deductions. A bookkeeper is going to be able to do things like let you know what really are business expenses as opposed to personal expenses that we would love to write off. I have talked to people that I have been floored to hear of other people's tax rates. I was just told just a sec, I'm sharing this to my own timeline on Facebook. I have had people say, oh, I pay 50% in taxes due to my job, and I'm going, duh. You shouldn't be paying that much. You should be paying 30%. Why are you paying that much? It's very easy. If you have a good bookkeeper and a good CPA, you should never pay that much as a percentage in taxes. And your money is your money. Yeah, excuse me. You need to be able to maximize your deductions so that you are spending the least amount legally possible. I'm not talking about taking illegal loopholes. You need to spend the least amount legally possible in income taxes. Nobody wants to spend money on taxes. There's other things we can spend money on that will grow our businesses. Now, why do you hire a bookkeeper? Why don't you hire a CPA firm? Well, I just kind of touched on that. CPAs charge $200 to $300 an hour or more. It's like hiring a lawyer to fill out a police report. It's just not, it's not cost effective, and the investment is very high for the return on investment. I do books for a fraction of the cost. I am excited to do it. I can usually look and see. I see things in people's books that mistakes that people have made, and I've talked a little bit about common mistakes, and I've talked about how to tell if you've got a bookkeeper that's maybe not as good at her job, and I've kind of talked a little bit about how to tell if you're a crappy client. But really, your bookkeeper should be able to look at your books, especially after she starts working with them for a while. After she's been working with them for a while, they should be up to date. She should be able to tell you what to expect. She should be able to separate assets from expenses. Usually this means inventory. And I'm going to say this again. I don't do inventory. I usually take supplies and put them through cost of goods. But at the same time, my clients don't tend to be the kind of clients that have a lot in inventory. I do work for a auto repair shop down in Provo. They are one of my very favorite clients, and I don't run their inventory because most of their inventory items kind of come in and then go right back out. So I just expense them as cost of goods, and then I work with their accountant to see if that's the best way to do that. But again, it's something that kind of comes in the door and goes right back out. It's not held. They're not selling merchandise. These are parts that just get put on the car and sent out the door. So I don't, but I do know the difference, and that's actually kind of a thing. I do know that inventory, if we were to look at their business or look at anybody's business, and I could see there's gallons of oil in the back that have not been used yet, that is actually an asset. I have it as cost of goods because, again, it doesn't usually stay very long. It's usually kind of in and out. But it's actually an asset, and I am aware of that. I choose to do it a little bit differently in the books, but that's okay. A lot of small business owners really honestly, and I kind of harp on the same subjects over and over. Excuse me, oh my goodness. Am I going to be okay? I think I'm going to be okay. I kind of harp on the same subjects over and over, and that's because they keep coming up in my work over and over. So a lot of small businessmen struggle with the idea, and women too, struggle with the idea of letting go of that control, of letting someone else look at their books. There is kind of an element of control to that. I mean, I know I wouldn't want someone to look at my personal checkbook, and it does feel kind of like a breach of privacy a lot of times to new business owners who aren't used to that. But it takes away from working on your business. Michael Gerber wrote a wonderful book called The E-Myth, and a lot of small businesses really fall into that, and I thought it was a brilliant book when I read it. And really what happens is you learn how to make widgets, let's say pies. You become a great pie baker, and you work at a bakery, but you make the best pies, and everyone compliments you on your pies, and so you decide you are going to fire your boss and go to work for a complete idiot. yourself. You're really good at making pies, which is great. You have to kind of start there. But you don't know how to run a business. And that becomes a really big learning curve. And I joke about this all the time. It happens to everybody who's self-employed. We kind of all go through this. But it's been really hard for a lot of people to let go of control of their books and let someone else handle them for them. Usually an entrepreneur who has been doing their own books for a while, and remember, usually that's not what they're doing for a living, and if it is what they're doing for a living, the last thing they want to do is their own. It's like that saying, the shoemaker's children are the ones that are going barefoot, and it's the mechanic's wife whose car is breaking down. Usually when you do something for a living all day long, the last thing you want to do is work on the same thing for yourself. But it has to be done. And so a lot of times, the worst books I have seen have been actually accountants, CPAs that owned other businesses and were trying to run their books. They were the worst books I have seen. And I just kind of cringed, because then I was coming at it with, I don't have a degree, but I have a heck of a lot of experience, and I'm going to have to sit here and tell this guy with a 4-year degree in accounting that his books are awful. But most entrepreneurs, they don't, it's not what they do for a living, so they don't recognize some of the things that a bookkeeping professional will be able to point out to them. And you know, the longer you're in business, the more complicated your books are going to be, so it's just better to get someone in at the very beginning. I'm looking at an article from Entrepreneur Magazine. This is from way back in 2011, and it talks about the owner of a company in Miami. They went 5 years without hiring a bookkeeper, and I can only imagine what their books look like. Well, pretty soon they hired one, and within 3 months, the new bookkeeper cleaned up their records, figured out where they were incorrectly mingling expenses and assets, figured out what, and that's usually one of two things is happening. Either they're expensing inventory or they're expensing other major purchases. That's usually what's happening. And either way, that needs to be recorded as an asset. And then they took over paying the bills. And you know what happens when you have someone that's watching your bills all the time? You don't pay as many late fees. It actually ended up saving this company $1,000 a quarter. And the owner was able to make more educated guesses or decisions about their business. And I have seen this over and over again. I have watched business owners hire us to do their books, and just the fact that they don't have to think about it all the time. Now they have more mental energy to expend on their business and not on their books. And their businesses will explode. Their businesses will grow exponentially, and it's just amazing to watch. I've actually worked myself out of a job more than once because I came in, I was able to take the books off of their mind, really, and then the business was able to grow because the owner wasn't thinking about the books all the time. On the other hand, I've had other clients that kind of ran into a cash flow situation. They were trying to grow a little bit faster than they were really ready to, and I had come in right in the middle of the expansion. I didn't have the knowledge then or the relationship to be able to talk to the guys about, this is growing a little bit too fast. And now they're asking me for my opinions, and I'm freely offering them, and whether they choose to do anything I say is up to them. It's their business. But so but at least I now have the relationship and the information to give them solid advice rather than trying to make something up on the fly. Well, how do you outsource bookkeeping? It's another question I keep getting asked. There's a lot of ways. Most of the time, I record the transactions that are in the bank, and then I work with the client for different aspects of their books. For example, I've had a client that she had a lot of customers, clients of her own, and she would take checks as payment. It was almost always on a check, and so she would just take pictures of the checks and email them to me, and I could then set up her sales receipts so that we could see who had paid what. When you do outsource bookkeeping, it's not here. Take this and I'm never going to think about it again. What I'm doing is really giving you the tools, and I've got to have feedback from my clients. I've got to get information from my clients that I can't get any other way. I can ask for view access to the bank, but there's still going to be some times that I have to have information from the client. That's just the way it is. And in fact, I will get a little frustrated if I don't get that information. Again, I'm kind of looking at an article that talks about outsourced bookkeeping, and they talk about, oh, well, some of these will come to your location. And to be honest, I have a couple clients that I'll go to their location, but they're huge clients. They are, they pay me thousands of dollars a month. So yeah, I'm gonna do what they want. I have most of my clients are much smaller. They are under $100 a week, and in fact, a lot of them are under $50 a week. And so I don't go to their locations. I will just work in the software. I will be able to access their bank accounts, view only. Again, I don't have access to their actual money, and just pull those transactions in. And then I have quarterly meetings with them to make sure that I am on track in meeting their goals. It's really a very simple process. A lot of people try to make it complicated. That's why I keep looking over here at this table, and it's complicated. They are complicating the heck out of this. It's really simple. With technology today, you can take your phone and take pictures of any receipts, invoices, bills, anything you have questions about, and send them to your bookkeeper instantaneously. She will probably have time that she has put aside to work on your books every week. But then the information's right there at her fingertips. So the takeaway from all this is hire a bookkeeper. If you don't have a bookkeeper, you need a bookkeeper. And it does need to be someone that's really good at what they do. Feel free to like, comment, and share. I am excited to talk to you again, and I will look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. Have a great evening.